The sun burned hot over the Gobi Desert, turning the sand into sheets of shimmering gold. In the middle of this endless ocean of heat and dust stood something that did not belong, something that had been there for a very long time. The ship was massive. It rose from the sand like a sleeping giant, its surface smooth and dark like polished stone. Strange symbols covered its hull, symbols that no human language could match. For 200 years, it had sat silent in the desert. For 200 years, people had tried to understand it. Doctor, Maya Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked up at the ship. She had been studying it for 3 years now. 3 long years of questions with no answers. Still nothing? Asked her assistant, James, walking up behind her with 2 bottles of water. Maya shook her head. Nothing. Same as yesterday. Same as every day. She took the water bottle gratefully and drank. The research camp was small. Just 5 people now. There used to be 50 scientists here. Back when the world still cared about the dead ship in the desert. But after decades of silence, after thousands of tests that showed nothing, people had given up. The ship was just a mystery that would never be solved. Why do you stay? James asked. He was young, fresh from university, still full of hope. Everyone else has moved on to other projects. Maya smiled sadly. Because someone should remember it's here. Someone should keep trying. The truth was, Maya didn't know why she stayed. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was the way her grandmother used to tell her that the most important answers took the longest to find. Or maybe it was something else, something she couldn't name. That afternoon, Maya went inside the ship alone. The entrance had been cut open decades ago by mining lasers. Inside, the corridors were dark and cold. A welcome relief from the desert heat. Emergency lights from the research team's equipment cast long shadows on the walls. She walked through the familiar passages, her footsteps echoing softly. Every surface had been studied, scanned, and documented. Every door had been opened. Every room had been searched. The ship was empty. No bodies, no cargo, no clues about who had built it or why they had come to Earth. Maya entered what the research team called the bridge. A large circular room with strange panels on the walls. Nothing had ever worked here. The panels were dark and cold to the touch, dead for centuries. She sat down on the floor, tired and frustrated. 3 years of her life, and she had learned nothing new. Tomorrow, the funding committee would make their decision. She would probably be called back to the university. The ship would be abandoned again, left to the sand and the wind. I wish you could talk, Maya said quietly to the empty room. I wish you could tell me why you came here, what you wanted, where you're from. She closed her eyes and thought of her grandmother, who had died 2 years ago. Her grandmother used to sing to her when she was small. Old songs in Mandarin that Maya barely understood but loved anyway. Without thinking, Maya began to hum one of those songs. The melody was soft and sad, a lullaby about the moon and stars. Then something impossible happened. The ship hummed back. Maya's eyes snapped open. Her heart jumped in her chest. She held perfectly still, afraid to breathe. The sound came again, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to come from the walls themselves. It matched her melody exactly, note for note. Oh my God, Maya whispered. As she spoke, lights flickered on the wall panels, soft blue lights, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Maya scrambled to her feet, staring in disbelief. In all the years of study, through all the tests and experiments, the ship had never shown a single sign of power. Hello? Maya said, her voice shaking. The lights pulsed brighter. More panels came to life around the room, creating patterns of light that flowed across the walls like water. Maya laughed, a sound mixed with tears and wonder. You can hear me. You've been able to hear me this whole time. The first, she thought about all the tests that had been done. Electromagnetic pulses, radiation scans, heat, cold, electricity. Scientists had tried everything to activate the ship, but no one had simply talked to it. My name is Maya, she said, speaking slowly and clearly. I'm a human. This is Earth. Do you understand me? The lights shifted, forming new patterns. They swirled and danced, creating shapes that almost looked like writing. Maya pulled out her phone and started recording, her hands trembling with excitement. For the next hour, she experimented. She spoke in English, then Mandarin, then tried simple words and complex sentences. Each time she used her voice, the ship responded. When she was silent, the lights dimmed. When she hummed or sang, they brightened and moved faster. But it wasn't just sound. When James had walked past the entrance earlier and shouted something to another team member, nothing had happened. The ship was responding specifically to Maya, to her voice speaking directly to it. She tried reading from her research notes. The lights pulsed politely but without enthusiasm. Then she tried talking about her day, her feelings, her questions about the ship. The lights became vibrant, excited, almost. You want conversation, Maya realized. Not just noise. You want someone to talk with you, as if in agreement. The center of the room suddenly lit up. A holographic projection appeared, floating in the air. Maya gasped and stepped back. The hologram showed symbols, constantly changing and rearranging themselves. It looked like writing, but also like music, patterns flowing from one shape to another. You're trying to teach me, Maya breathed. You're trying to teach me your language. She spent another hour studying the symbols, speaking to the ship, watching how the patterns changed. It was like learning a new alphabet. Except, this alphabet moved and shifted, each symbol connected to meaning through sound and emotion, rather than simple definition. By the time she stumbled out of the ship, the sun was setting. Her team was waiting for her, worried. Maya, where have you been? We were about to come looking for... James stopped mid-sentence, staring at her face. What happened? It's alive, Maya said, still dazed. The ship. It's alive, and it's been listening to us. To all of us. For 200 years. She told them everything. At first, they didn't believe her. Then she took them inside and showed them. When she spoke to the ship, it responded. When they tried, nothing happened. Why only you? Asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the team leader. I don't know, Maya admitted. Maybe because I talked to it first. Or maybe, she thought about the lullaby. About speaking to the ship like it was a living thing, rather than a machine. Maybe because I treated it like someone, not something. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in her tent, staring at the canvas ceiling, her mind racing. The ship had been waiting for 2 centuries. Waiting for what? For someone to speak to it? Or for someone to speak to it in the right way? She thought about all the scientists who had studied the ship with tools and instruments, treating it like a puzzle to be solved. No one had thought to simply say hello. The next morning, Dr. Kim made a call to the funding committee. Then she made another call to the International Space Agency. Then to the military. Maya, Doctor, Kim said, pulling her aside. They're sending people. Important people. Military specialists. Linguists. Computer experts. They'll be here in 2 days. 2 days? Maya felt a chill despite the desert heat. That's not enough time. I'm just starting to understand. They want results, Doctor, Kim said firmly. Real results. The ship has been silent for 200 years, and suddenly it wakes up? They need to know why. They need to know if it's dangerous. Maya looked back at the ship, standing silent in the morning light. Inside, she knew, it was waiting for her. Waiting to continue their conversation, to teach her its language. But she also knew that in 2 days, everything would change. The military would come with their demands and their weapons. They would want to take control, to study the ship their way. Maya had 48 hours to learn what the ship had been waiting 200 years to say. She walked toward the ship, determined. The real work was just beginning. Maya didn't leave the ship for the next 36 hours. She brought in supplies. Water, food, blankets, her laptop, and recording equipment. Doctor. Kim tried to convince her to rest, but Maya refused. Time was running out. The military would arrive tomorrow, and she needed to understand what the ship was trying to tell her. At least take James with you, Dr. Kim insisted. Someone should be there in case something goes wrong. Maya agreed, though she wasn't sure if the ship would respond with someone else present. But when they entered together, the lights came on just as before. The ship seemed to welcome them both. "This is incredible," James whispered, staring at the glowing panels. "It's like it's happy to see you." Maya smiled. "Maybe it is. Maybe it's been lonely." She began the slow work of communication. The holographic symbols appeared again, floating in the air like strange flowers. Maya spoke to them, tried to copy the sounds they seemed to represent. Some symbols pulsed when she got close to the right sound. Others dimmed when she was wrong. It was like learning music and language at the same time. Each symbol had a tone, a feeling, a meaning that went beyond simple words. Maya recorded everything, taking notes, making connections. After 6 hours, she began to recognize patterns. After 12 hours, she could identify individual symbols. After 18 hours, she understood her first complete message. "Waiting," Maya said aloud, pointing to a cluster of symbols. "This means waiting. The ship has been waiting." James looked up from his own notes. "Waiting for what?" Maya asked the ship, speaking slowly and pointing to new symbols. The hologram shifted, showing a complex pattern that took several minutes to display. Maya watched carefully, her exhaustion forgotten. I think it's showing me a story," she said. "Look, these symbols keep repeating. They're like characters in a narrative." She grabbed her laptop and started typing frantically, organizing the symbols into sequences. Slowly, impossibly, a story began to emerge. The beings who built the ship were called the Kithani. They came from a world very different from Earth, a world of deep oceans and constant storms. The Kithani themselves were unlike anything Maya had imagined. They didn't have mouths or ears. They communicated through electrical fields generated by their bodies, sending signals through the water. They couldn't speak, Maya realized. Not like us. They couldn't make sounds with their bodies. The hologram continued, showing more symbols. Maya worked through them, piece by piece. The Kithani had developed incredible technology. They had explored their world, then their solar system, then the galaxy beyond. But everywhere they went, they found the same thing: silence. Other species communicated in ways the Kithani could understand, through light, through chemicals, through touch. But the Kithani had discovered something in their studies of the universe. They had found references in ancient ruins, in fragments of dead civilizations, to something they had never experienced: voice. They were looking for species that could sing, Maya said, her voice filled with wonder. Species that could create meaning through sound, through breath, through vocal cords vibrating in air. They called it. She struggled with the symbol, soul song. James stared at her. Soul song? Maya nodded, tears in her eyes. They believed that beings who could speak, who could sing, who could create sound from inside their own bodies. These beings had something special, something the Kithani had never known. They could express emotion directly, immediately, through the sound of their voice. Happiness, sadness, anger, love, all carried in the tone and rhythm of speech. The hologram shifted again, showing images of ships leaving a dark ocean world. Dozens of ships, spreading across the stars. They sent out gift ships, Maya continued, following the story. Ships loaded with technology, knowledge, medical advances. They sent them to worlds where they detected the possibility of vocal species. The ships were programmed to wait, to watch, to learn about these species. And then, James asked, Maya's expression grew serious. And then activate. But only when the species proved they deserved the gifts. Only when they demonstrated that their soul song represented real intelligence, real empathy, real consciousness. She turned to James. This ship has been testing us. For 200 years, it's been watching humanity, listening to us, learning our languages, our music, our arguments and conversations. It was waiting for the right moment. What moment? James asked. Maya pointed to herself. When someone finally spoke to it as a person. Not as a machine to be analyzed or a puzzle to be solved. When someone used their voice not to demand or command, but to connect. The ship pulsed with light, as if agreeing. Over the next hours, Maya learned more. The ship contained medical technology that could cure diseases humanity had struggled with for centuries. It held agricultural systems that could grow food in any climate, even in space. It had clean energy designs that would transform human civilization. But it also had safeguards. The Cathani learned from their mistakes, Maya explained to James as dawn approached. They found other vocal species in their travels. Some of those species used their gifts well, others didn't. Some used language only to lie, to manipulate, to control. The Cathani didn't want their technology to fall into the wrong hands. So the ships have tests, James said. Yes, and we haven't passed yet. That was when they heard the helicopters. Maya and James rushed outside. The sun was just rising, painting the desert in shades of orange and pink. But the beauty was lost in the thunder of rotor blades. 3 large military helicopters were landing near the camp, throwing up clouds of sand and dust. Soldiers emerged first, securing the perimeter. Then came the others, men and women in suits and uniforms, carrying briefcases and equipment. Maya recognized General Morrison from his photos. He was famous in military circles, known for his hard stance on extraterrestrial technology. Dr. Kim ran up to Maya. They came early. I tried to delay them. But Dr. Chen, a woman in a dark suit, approached. I'm Director Sarah Chen from the International Security Council. We need you to brief us immediately on the situation. Maya wanted to refuse, wanted more time, but she had no choice. She led them into the camp's main tent and explained everything she had learned. The officials listened with intense interest. Some took notes. Others whispered to each other. General Morrison leaned forward when she finished. So this ship will give us advanced technology if we prove we deserve it? It's not that simple. Maya began. Can you make it activate? Can you access these technologies? Maya hesitated. I'm still learning the language. The ship is teaching me, but it takes time. We don't have time, Morrison interrupted. Every hour this ship sits here, other nations are demanding access. We need to secure its technology now, before this becomes an international incident. You don't understand, Maya said firmly. The ship isn't a machine we can just turn on. It's intelligent. It makes decisions. If we push too hard, if we approach this wrong, then you'll teach us how to approach it right, said Director Chen. We've brought linguistic specialists, AI experts, negotiation teams. You'll work with them to establish communication protocols. Maya felt a cold weight in her stomach. And if the ship doesn't respond to them, then you'll do it, Morrison said. We've recorded your voice. We have hours of footage of you interacting with the ship. If necessary, we can use that. No, Maya said sharply. You can't just play recordings. The ship knows the difference. It responds to genuine interaction, to real emotion and intent. If you try to fake it, an alarm suddenly blared through the camp. Everyone froze. One of the soldiers rushed in. Sir, the ship! It's doing something! They all ran outside. Maya's heart sank. The ship was glowing, but not with the gentle blue light she had come to know. This light was red, pulsing in a rapid, urgent rhythm. Maya understood immediately. She had learned enough of the ship's language to recognize this pattern. Warning, danger, deception detected. What's happening? Morrison demanded. Maya turned to him, her voice cold. It heard you. It heard your plan to use my recorded voice. The ship thinks we're trying to trick it, to steal its technology without earning it. Can you fix this? Director Chen asked urgently. Maya looked at the ship, watching the red lights pulse faster and faster. She thought about everything she had learned. About the Cathani and their search for soul song. About 200 years of patient waiting. I don't know, she said honestly. The ship is preparing to shut down. Maybe permanently. Maybe worse. James grabbed her arm. Maya, look at the symbols. The holographic writing had appeared outside the ship now, visible to everyone. Maya read it with growing horror. The message was clear. The ship would self-destruct, rather than let its gifts be taken by force or deception. It was giving humanity one last chance. One final test. Maya had minutes to convince the ship that humanity's soul song was real, that it represented more than just one person, that her voice speaking to it with respect and wonder wasn't an exception but an example of what humans could be. But how could she prove that when the ship was surrounded by soldiers and officials who saw it only as a prize to be won? The red lights pulsed faster. Time was running out. Maya stood frozen, watching the red lights pulse faster across the ship's surface. Around her, soldiers raised their weapons nervously. Officers shouted orders into radios. The desert morning filled with noise and chaos. But Maya heard only her own heartbeat and the urgent hum coming from the ship. Everyone needs to step back, she said quietly. Dr. Chen, we need to secure, General Morrison began. Now! Maya shouted, surprising herself with the force in her voice. Back away from the ship! All of you! Something in her tone made them listen. The soldiers retreated. The officials moved toward the camp. Only Maya, James, and Dr. Kim remained close to the glowing vessel. Maya approached the ship slowly, hands open, palms forward. Please, she said, speaking directly to it like she had before. Please listen to me. They don't understand yet. But I do. I understand what you're asking for. The red lights continued pulsing, but slower now. The ship was listening. You want proof? Maya continued, her voice steady despite her fear. Proof that humanity deserves your gifts. Proof that our soul song is real, that it's not just me but all of us. Is that right? 2. The holographic symbols appeared, rearranging themselves into a pattern Maya had learned to recognize. Yes, Maya's mind raced. How could she prove something like that? How could she show the ship the beauty of human communication when it was surrounded by weapons and suspicion? Then she remembered her phone. It was still in her pocket, still recording everything. But more importantly, it was connected to the internet. James, she called. I need you to set up the satellite link. Full bandwidth. I need to broadcast from here. Broadcast what? James asked, confused but already moving. Everything. I need the whole world to see this. General Morrison stepped forward. Dr. Chen, you can't just... Yes, I can, Maya said firmly. This isn't just about one country or one government. The Cathani didn't send this ship to America or China or anyone specific. They sent it to humanity. All of humanity. And if we're going to pass their test, everyone needs to be part of it. Dr. Kim nodded and pulled out her own equipment. I'll help. We can use the research network. It'll reach every major news agency within minutes. 10 minutes later, Maya stood in front of a camera, the ship glowing red behind her. James gave her a thumbs up. They were live. Millions of people around the world were watching. Maya took a deep breath and began to speak. My name is Dr. Maya Chen. Behind me is an alien ship that has been silent in the Gobi Desert for 200 years. 3 days ago, it woke up. It woke up because I spoke to it. Because I sang to it. Because I used my voice, the thing that makes us human, to reach out to something unknown. She paused, gathering her thoughts. The red lights pulsed steadily. The beings who built this ship were searching the galaxy for something they never had. A voice. The ability to speak, to sing, to express emotion through sound. They called it soul song, and they believed it was precious. Special. Something worth crossing the stars to find. Maya glanced at the ship, then back at the camera. This ship contains gifts. Technology that could change our world, cure our diseases, solve our problems. But it won't give us these gifts just because we want them. It's been watching us for 200 years, listening to us, learning about us. And now it's asking a question. Do we deserve them? Behind her, Maya heard General Morrison speaking urgently into his radio. She ignored him and continued. Right now, this ship thinks the answer is no. It heard military officials planning to use recordings of my voice to trick it, to take its technology by deception. And now it's preparing to destroy itself, rather than let that happen. The red lights flared brighter. Maya's voice trembled, but she kept talking. But I believe the answer is yes. I believe humanity deserves this chance. Not because we're perfect, but because we're capable of something beautiful. We can communicate. We can connect. We can use our voices not just to demand or command, but to share, to comfort, to express what's in our hearts. Maya looked directly into the camera, tears streaming down her face. So I'm asking you, everyone watching this, to help me prove it. The ship needs to hear humanity's soul song. Not just mine. All of ours. I need you to speak, to sing, to share your voices. Talk to your children. Call your parents. Tell someone you love them. Sing your favorite song. Read a poem. Just use your voice. The gift we all have. To connect with someone else. She paused. And if you want, share it. Post it online. Let the world hear you. Let this ship hear you. Show it what human voices can do when we choose to use them with kindness and truth. Maya stepped away from the camera, exhausted. For a moment, nothing happened. The ship continued pulsing red. Morrison was arguing with Director Chen. James was monitoring the broadcast. Then James's laptop started beeping. Maya, he said, his voice filled with wonder. Look at this. Maya rushed over. The screen showed social media feeds, video uploads, live streams. They were coming in from everywhere. Hundreds, then thousands, then millions. A mother in Brazil singing a lullaby to her baby. An old man in Japan playing a bamboo flute. A choir in Kenya harmonizing together. A teacher in India reading poetry to her students. Children in Australia laughing and telling jokes. A man in Russia speaking softly to his wife's photograph, saying how much he missed her. The videos kept coming. People speaking in hundreds of languages. Singing folk songs, pop songs, religious hymns, national anthems. Sharing stories, memories, jokes, declarations of love. Some voices were beautiful, some were ordinary, but all of them were real. All of them were human. Maya turned to the ship, her heart pounding. Can you hear them? She asked. Can you hear all of us? The red lights flickered. Then, slowly, they began to change. Red faded to orange. Orange to yellow. Yellow to the gentle blue Maya had come to know. But it didn't stop there. The blue deepened, brightened, became a radiant color Maya had never seen before. The ship began to sing. It was the most beautiful sound Maya had ever heard. The ship was harmonizing with the voices from around the world, matching their tones, their rhythms, their emotions. It sounded like music and language and pure joy all mixed together. The holographic symbols appeared again, but this time they were everywhere, filling the air around the ship like fireflies. Maya read them through her tears. Worthy, deserving, welcome. The ship had made its decision. Over the next hour, the ship began sharing its gifts. Interface panels opened, revealing crystalline data storage devices. Holographic manuals appeared in dozens of languages, explaining medical techniques, agricultural methods, energy systems. The ship was teaching humanity everything it had been holding in trust. General Morrison stood silent, watching. Director Chen was on the phone, speaking rapidly to world leaders. Scientists from the camp rushed forward, documenting everything. But Maya just sat on the sand, exhausted and happy, watching the sun climb higher in the desert sky. James sat down beside her. You did it. You saved the ship. Maya shook her head. I didn't save it. We all did. Every person who shared their voice. That's what the Kithani wanted us to understand. Soul Song isn't special because one person has it. It's special because we all have it, and we can choose to use it to connect, instead of control. Dr. Kim joined them, smiling. The videos are still coming in. Millions of them. People all over the world are talking to each other, sharing stories, making connections. Some are saying it's like humanity remembered how to listen to each other. Maya thought about her grandmother's lullaby, the song that had started everything. She had sung it without thinking. A small moment of connection between her past and her present, and that small moment had changed everything. What happens now? James asked. Maya looked at the ship, now glowing peacefully in the morning light. Now we learn. The Cathani left us their knowledge, but more importantly, they left us a reminder. A reminder that the most advanced technology we have isn't in machines or computers. It's in our voices, in our ability to reach out to each other with honesty and empathy. She stood up, brushing sand from her clothes. And we have to make sure we don't forget that. The ship will stay here, teaching us, but only as long as we remember what made it wake up in the first place. Not force, not deception, just one person treating something unknown with respect and wonder. Around the world, people continued sharing their voices. The videos became a movement. Strangers spoke to strangers, old friends reconnected, families gathered to sing together. Languages crossed borders, songs crossed oceans. The ship listened to it all. This strange alien intelligence that had waited 200 years to hear humanity's soul song. And in every voice, in every language, in every note of every song, it heard the same thing the Cathani had been searching for across the galaxy. The sound of consciousness choosing connection. The sound of beings who could speak, choosing to say something kind. The sound of humanity, imperfect and beautiful. Finally understanding that its greatest gift was the one it had always had. A voice, and the choice of what to say with it.